we are developing students for the industry, career technical education, so that they become our replacements.
These young people have chosen this opportunity to get a jump start on their career.
They'll have a better idea about what they want to do and what they're good at by the time they leave high school.
There's some great opportunities for these students that are coming out of the career and technical programs from Henrico County.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Henrico CTE Now. I am Rashawn Garnett, and with me I have
Mike Roberts.
And today we're conducting yet another virtual podcast for you. Shout out to Microsoft Teams, right, Mike? I mean, got two guests here via the Microsoft Teams hotline. Should we call it that from now on, Mike? The Microsoft Teams hotline?
You know, I don't know, but we need to come up with some kind of a name. We've been using it so much this year.
I mean, it has been a useful tool as of late. I need to figure out how we can, we will look into, I have some theories about making it sound almost as good as our mobile podcasting tools that I'll share with you after the show, Mike. But for the most part, it's beginning the job done. I want to remind you to check us out on our social media: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, all at the handle Henrico CTE. Make sure you stay up to date with us. Also check out HenricoCTE.com as well. And Mike, tell them where they can find the podcast.
You can find the podcast at any of your major podcast venues and most of your minor ones, including Spotify, Google, Apple, the works. Apple is currently our biggest fan. Most people are listening to the podcast on Apple, but there are plenty of minor ones out there too. And we are about to reach a milestone. Maybe by the next time our podcast drops, we will have reached 5,000 fans.
Oh, wow. So, 5,000 fans.
Yes.
Mike, you did it, man.
Yeah.
You made the podcast famous. You did it. No, just kidding.
I mean, it's not only is it, I mean, it's the amazing thing is how international it is. We're up to, we're in the high 20s on how many countries this is being listened to. But it's a new one every so often. It's just amazing. And I never would have imagined it been here.
Yep, it's growing, and we're getting the good word out about CTE, the amazing students that participate, and also the amazing companies that partner with us to put these students in careers that they are passionate about. All right, guys, time to introduce you to our guest. We have with us Human Resource Specialist with Henrico County Public Schools, Seza Aldrich, and Pocahantas Middle School Family and Consumer Science teacher, and also, maybe the most important part, newly named Pocahantas Middle School First-Year Teacher of the Year, Brianna Smith. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Henrico CTE Now. And Brianna, congratulations. Hand claps, hand claps, hand claps.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. And I want to start off by getting some background on both of you, introduce you guys to our listeners, and get some background on us. So give us about yourselves. So give us some background on yourselves and what your role is here with Henrico County Public Schools. And we'll start with Seza, and then Brianna, you go ahead and follow up.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to be chatting with you guys today, Rashawn and Michael, as well as having an opportunity to talk and showcase Brianna Smith. I'm Seza Aldrich. I'm one of the Human Resources Specialists for Henrico County Public Schools, and I have been in the role of a Human Resources Specialist since 2007. And have been in the Henrico school system since 2003. I myself was a CTE teacher, working as a business and information technology teacher for a little while before heading over to the human resources side. And I get the opportunity to work with individuals like Brianna, who we will, of course, showcase today during this podcast and talk about the outstanding opportunities available in Henrico County Public Schools.
All right. Awesome. I did not know you had a CTE background. So no wonder you know what it's all about. You know how awesome CTE can be. So Brianna, give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for listening, of course. My name is Brianna Smith. I am a first-year teacher at Pocahantas Middle School, teaching family and consumer sciences. I am also a Henrico CTE and ECE 2016 Teacher Scholar. I actually graduated from Virginia State University last year in May with my degree in FACS with a minor in secondary education. So I'm excited to be here and come back.
You just made Rashawn's day.
Always. Mike already knew that.
Yes.
A long-time listener to this podcast. You know where I graduated from, and that's Virginia State University. We love it. We love it. We love it. Okay, VSU. We love it. We love it. We love it. Okay, gotta love Trojan Nation. So Brianna, we heard you just earned the First Year Teacher of the Year award at Pocahantas Middle School. What does an achievement mean to you, especially being that you went to school here and now you're out here doing big things in your first year?
Yes, it was very exciting when I first heard I was nominated. I was like, oh my gosh, what? Me? I just started. But earning this award is truly a blessing, and I'm humbled to have only been teaching for a little over a semester, and I was recognized by my colleagues and parents and my amazing students, and it just means that hard work pays off, so always stay dedicated.
And you know, Brianna, you're in a unique situation here, and a lot of new teachers are in a very unique situation here. I mean, you know, COVID-19 has affected the way you guys do things, and I think that just adds a little bit more to this personal victory, and no doubt that you were able in a time like this to earn an award like this.
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely hard coming in as a first year teacher, but throw in a pandemic and being on a computer, in front of a computer all day. It's like, oh, okay, I got this. We'll make it.
Well, obviously you've been doing something right. I mean, she has to be doing something right, Mike. I mean, went to VSU, now first year new teacher award winner. She has to be doing something right, Mike.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's already challenges anyway. But like you said, with this particular past year, it definitely adds a lot more to the pile. So definitely. So
oh, sorry, Mike.
Go ahead.
So Seza, how is someone chosen for this award, the First Year Teacher of the Year award? And it's something that is done school by school. I think was my understanding of how it was explained to me. So how was someone chosen for this award? And why are awards like this important to Henrico County Public Schools?
Absolutely. Happy to talk about that. So yes, there is a First Year Teacher of the Year at each school. Then there will actually be a winner for the entire school division. So there will be a Henrico First Year Teacher of the Year. And of course, we're all going to be rooting for Brianna, right? We have so many outstanding teachers. And, you know, of course, awards like this is just a very small token of showing the appreciation that the community of Henrico has for our teachers. The award is basically given to a deserving, exceptional performer in their first year. And as Brianna shared, you know, this is basically just finishing her first semester. So to be eligible, it would be for teachers with 0 years of experience. So these are our new folks coming in. And basically the competencies that are looked for are positive relationships with learning community and with strong instructional practices and strong communication skills. And as we've mentioned already, with COVID, you know, this year is even more challenging with regard to building relationships and having those outstanding learning communities. And so the fact that that has occurred in such a way that Brianna has been recognized, it's just outstanding. And as I said, you know, it's just a small token that we can show our first year teachers how much we appreciate all the work that they have put in, and the fact that they selected Henrico Schools as their choice employer. So we are so happy to have Brianna, and as Brianna mentioned, she is a product of, I believe Brianna already mentioned, she is a product of Henrico Schools as a student, and now she has done full circle and come back to us as an educator.
I mean, Mike, teachers are just important. We talked a lot here, especially with the pandemic going on, about essential careers. And I think teaching is one of those things that are essential, right? So teachers put out those, they are the first people who teach those people in the role of those essential careers, Mike. I mean, teaching is just so important. So you have to recognize them in some way or some shape or fashion.
When you talk to people, there's always a teacher. There's always
Right.
somebody that they remember, a teacher that was an influence on them. You know, I know in my situation, I had a teacher in high school that was so much of an influence on me. And I think that it's the same story with other people too. And so when, you know, being able to point it out and to profile somebody and say, you know, and give somebody that pat on the back that you're doing it right out of the gate, you're doing such a great job. It's got to be important, especially considering the stress that the teachers have been having to go through this year. So I think it's great that they're able to get some recognition.
Yeah, Mike, and you mentioned there's always a teacher. I want to send a huge shout out to one of my favorite teachers at Henrico. There's a whole bunch of them. Miss Green taught math, really helped me understand math. I went to Henrico High School, so these are Henrico High School teachers I'm mentioning. Also, Mr. Arthur, one of my favorite teachers as well over there, taught me history. So yeah, teachers are important, and it's always a teacher, right, Mike, or a group of teachers that really make an impact on your life. So Brianna, you're a product of Henrico County Public Schools, Teacher Scholar Program. What has it been like working in the same school system you've grown up, even if it's only for half a semester? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, sometimes it's surreal. Like, weren't you just in high school at Highland Springs? And occasionally when I log into my computer, I type in the HCPS Smith and I'm like, okay, you're not a student. So I have to come back to reality. But now I'm on the other side of the computer and I'm responsible for someone's child. But at the same time, I get to give them the same exciting experience that I experienced in Henrico County for so many years. So it's definitely an honor to be here as an educator now.
Yeah, and Seza, we mentioned the Teacher Scholar Program a little bit early on. Can you give us a little bit of background about what it is and why it's so important to Henrico County Public Schools?
Absolutely. So, you know, there is no secret that there is a critical shortage of teachers. It's a nationwide crisis. And so one of the things that Henrico looks to do is always be creative and a leader in creative ways of solving problems, if you will. So beginning with the graduating class of 2015, the Henrico County Public Schools Teacher Scholars Program was implemented to address staffing needs and the increasing demand for highly qualified teachers in critical shortage teaching areas, thereby improving the delivery of service to our students. Content areas for which we consider students for the Teacher Scholars Program are Spanish, mathematics, exceptional education, earth science, physical science, technology education, and Brianna's area of content, family and consumer sciences. And so again, the program is designed to grow our own teachers. We talk with students who are interested in the profession. We connect with our family and consumer sciences teachers who have Teach for Tomorrow students, as well as our specialty center over at Glen Allen High School with regard to the education component of that specialty center, and then throughout all of the high schools for individuals who may be interested in the profession of teaching. And so this is a program where an individual would apply during their senior year, and we go through a selection process, an interview process, and we ask them about their interest in the profession and what they feel is most important about the profession. And then we go through the process of selecting our recipients. Brianna is part of the class of 2016, so she was part of the second year of the program. And the way the program works is the individual is going to go and make a commitment to attend a higher education institution and receive a degree in one of these majors, whereby it will allow them to come back and teach in our school division. And the program is designed so that you are guaranteed a job. So Brianna could tell her family before she even left high school, when she was selected in 2016, that in 4 or 5 years, whether she chose a bachelor's or a master's path, she would already have a job. And so I don't know very many seniors who can say that to their families. So I believe, you know, that in itself is awesome. But also, there is a $5,000 sign-on bonus. So you are guaranteed a job and sign-on a bonus of $5,000. And so, it's just a win-win. And for our students who have a passion for education and want to come back and give back to the community, it is just such an outstanding grow your own type of program. And again, from a recruitment standpoint, it is helping us solve a greater problem. We do believe that we have some of the finest students in the U.S. here in our own division, some of the brightest students. And, to us, they're all scholars. And we are just fortunate to have a program like this where we can showcase the talents. And then here we are, we've got Brianna, who not only is a teacher scholar, but has now been awarded as first year teacher of the year at her school, Pocahantas Middle School. So you can see how outstanding this program can be.
I mean, Mike, it sounds like a pretty sweet deal and almost a no-brainer if you know, especially if you know teaching is something that you want to do. How many programs could say, outside of CTA centers, that's what we always want to do, make sure students leave school, as Mac always put it, our director, Mac Baden always puts it, enrolled, enlisted, or employed. But that sounds like a huge deal, right? Being able to come out of college with a guaranteed job in the county that you grew up in.
Yeah, I mean, what we basically are seeing is the same thing that's happening in a lot of businesses where there are essential careers that aren't getting filled. And you're having to come up with ways to attract people so that you're helping yourselves, you're helping them. And I think it's important that that we're doing things to try and attract people to these types of careers, just like what we're doing with the other programs and dealing with because our business partners tell us every day, we're looking for students to come and fill these essential positions for one reason or another, whether it's people aging out, because retirement, or what or there's just not as many people as there has in the past, or there's a larger need than there was in the past to fill these positions. It's important that we do what we can to respond, and Henrico is doing what it needs to do to respond by having this teacher scholar program. How many students have gone through this in the short time that it's been since it started?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, of course, it began in 2015 with the senior class. So we have gone as high as 24 scholars in one cohort. The class of 2018 was the largest one we had, where we awarded 24 students as scholars. And of course, we keep up with our scholars all throughout their career in college, in higher ed. We check in with them, see how they're doing. Do they need anything from us? Sometimes we have some of our recipients who may have a change of career path or a major, if you will, while they are in their educational program. And so we'll talk with them and guide them through that process. But yeah, we've seen tremendous success from it. We have hired a number of our folks from the 2015, 2016 cohorts, and we are looking forward to working with the rest of the cohorts as they move along in their teacher preparation programs. And again, we do keep in touch with them, and we want to make sure that they know we're here, that it wasn't just during their senior year and we won't talk to them again in 4 or 5 years. So it is so exciting to keep in touch and hear how they're doing and how they're adjusting to the college life, and of course then transitioning to the workforce.
Well, I mean, that's got to be huge that you guys actually check in on the students while they're in school. And Brianna, just speaking from experience, how much would you say that helped you out in the long run, right? I mean, going off to college, whether you're going in-state or out of state, is a huge change no matter how you flip it. But to have the support of the county behind you had to make a pretty good difference in your comfort level as far as pursuing this profession.
Absolutely. Leaving high school with that plan from Henrico was absolutely awesome. Just to see emails from them periodically, like, hey, we're checking on your status. Where are you at with your degree? How's everything going with classes? It just felt very comforting to know that even though I transitioned out of school from Henrico, that they were still following me and checking up on my journey. So it was very sweet and thoughtful.
Hey, Mike, I mean, it really makes you feel like they have your back. I mean, which of course they do, but for them to go the extra mile and keep contact with them is great.
it's Rashawn, it's a story that we keep seeing repeated. We hear teachers in our ACE Center and CTE programs, they're doing the same thing. We've got Miss Aldrich and her group doing it, but we also are seeing our teachers do the same thing. Well, we just had that interview recently with Miss Bobby and one of her students who was opening up his own business, and she had been keeping in contact with him going to VCU and then moving on to opening up his own business. And and she was the one that I think contacted us about, hey, he could come and talk to us, and when we could talk about the success stories with our students. It was her contact with her students, and we've seen this before in the past too, and with other teachers too. It's amazing how it's almost as if it's a group effort, but it's not something that's planned. It's their commitment to their jobs and to their students.
Another testament to how awesome teachers are in general, but of course here in Henrico County, how awesome the teachers are here as well. So Brianna, you had the opportunity. We're talking about ACE Centers. So I got to bring up our ACE Center program that you participated in.
Always.
You had the opportunity to participate in early childhood education. How has that experience helped you in your first year of teaching so far?
Yeah, so I worked in the ECE program for 2.5 years, and I would say this definitely helped me with patience. Working with the preschoolers from ages 2 to 5 definitely had you apply your skills on a daily basis and actually stick with it just to learn how to handle children altogether. It doesn't matter at what age. A child is a child, and you have to learn how to work with them. So patience was definitely one thing. Another aspect was learning how to construct lesson plans. So going into college, I didn't have a lot of struggles when it came to creating lesson plans because I was doing it in high school for preschoolers. So that being there in that program definitely set me a level up higher before I even started college.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about it here on the podcast. Any experience is good experience, but it especially pays off when you get experience in something that you're going to do after high school or after college, right? Then you can really reap the benefits of that experience, right? It's like your training has finally paid off when you're out there in the real world. Oh, I remember this from class. I remember learning this in early childhood education. I remember learning this as being part of the Teacher Scholar program. So that is really, really good to hear. So Seza, you mentioned you have a background in CTE. Why do you think programs like the early childhood education program is important to aspiring teachers?
Absolutely. So, there just has to be a passion for kids of all ages, of all backgrounds, of all cultures. And, a program like the early childhood education program, number one, is going to nurture that passion. And number two, it is going to teach and show our young adults who are in the program what that development looks like, what the development of the child looks like, and that basically all children learn on a different level in different ways. And so just getting that background in a program like that, spending time and really understanding whether this profession is for you truly is such an important aspect, because if you do not have a love for children, if you do not love, and I say love, not like, love children, then education is not for you, because it is a tough profession and it is not for everyone. It is hard work, but it is heart work. So you've got to have the heart for it. And if you are enrolled in a program like the early childhood program that we have, it is going to help you understand whether this is the right path for you or not. And, it's exploratory, if you will. You're exploring careers by spending an opportunity with the program like the early childhood or other programs that are offered within the CTE programs. It is offering you the opportunity to sort of explore that profession before you jump, into it 100%. But, someone like Brianna, who was not only a teacher scholar, but was involved in the early childhood education program, it doesn't take long for us to be able to determine, and during the interview process with this teacher scholars, it doesn't take long to kind of grasp whether an individual has that passion for kids. Again, the love for children, all children.
One thing I like that you said right there, Seza, was hard work. It is hard work, and you really have to put your heart into it. The students know when you care, and the students know and feel, the work feels more important when they feel like it's coming from your heart, right? Where, you know, they feel like you have their well-being at heart, right? You really want them to be successful. So I think that was a perfect way of putting the work of teachers, right, Mike? It is not hard work. It's heart work. You have to have your heart into it, and the students can tell, the parents can tell, and the community can tell when we produce really, really good people to be added to our community ranks as far as doing different jobs coming out of the CTE world, whether you're enrolled, enlisted, or employed.
Yeah, I think you're 150% right on that. I mean, the students know and the parents know when the teacher's putting that heart work into it. I think it's important that is what that when somebody wants to do it, that's what their goal is in mind. Is that they're it's not just a job. It is a lot more than most jobs out there, because of that connection and the responsibility to these students. Is that if you don't have the heart to do, for it, that it's you might want to be doing something else. But
well, go find something that you want to put your heart in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think these programs are making sure that that's what we end up with. That we don't end up with somebody who's just punching a clock.
Right.
And Brianna, how we're sitting there talking about the hard work and people wanting to do the job. How long have you wanted to teach? How when did you first figure that out, and how did you find out about the teacher the scholar program? How did that first get introduced to you?
Okay, so I always wanted to teach for many years since I was a little girl. My mom tells me to this day, I used to go to daycare and I wouldn't play with the other kids. I would just follow the teacher and tell everybody what to do, like mock everything that she said. So I've known that it's always been a passion for mine. I did put it on the back burner for a little bit when I first got to high school, just because I was trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. But when I went to talk to my counselor and they introduced us to the tech programs and tech education, I saw that the early childhood education program had a hands-on experience with children, also teaching us how to be educators and learn about education and learn about child development. I thought that it was very interesting, since teaching was definitely a passion of mine and I still loved it. I decided to apply for that program and I stuck to it.
Yeah, boom, here you are. Here you are.
You say you talked to your counselor and they introduced you to the idea of signing up for the early childhood class. How early was that first introduced to you? Was it 10th grade, 8th grade? When did you first learn about the ACE Center programs?
So I learned about the ACE Center in 10th grade, so sophomore year. And then, of course, you don't start tech until 11th, 12th grade.
Right.
So I started in the 11th grade and I was there until the summer when they said, hey, you can't work anymore. So love you, but you got to go.
Do you feel, I'm just leading up to that, do you feel that that those programs should be introduced to students in an earlier age than 10th grade?
Absolutely. I would say even when they first come, when the 8th graders begin to transition to high school, starting that freshman 9th grade year, I think that is definitely important to just put all the information out there, even if they forget it. I'm sure that they will always remember one piece or key piece of information, and they'll go, oh, I remember when they came to my class. I actually did it with my 8th graders as well. I had some of the ECE teachers come to my class to talk to my 8th graders about the program that I was in. So I think introducing it as soon as possible is definitely the best route.
All right, Sez, I want you to chime in here. We're going to talk a little about skills to pay the bills, or skills to make the grade. Trying to find a good teacher metaphor to use, or teacher pun, but it wasn't working right there. So, what are some of the skills that one needs to be a successful teacher?
Sure. So, I've mentioned already the love for all kids, passion for all kids. Also, you have to have a passion for what you're teaching. kids can tell if you don't love that content. You're going to talk about family and consumer sciences. Brianna stands in front of the folks and, well, at this moment at the camera, but, when she's in person, will be, speaking and trying to energize her students about a content. If she herself does not have a passion for that content, it is not going to take long for her students to tell. And if you don't love what you're teaching, it's going to wear on you. And unfortunately, it will wear on our students. And so we ask all of our teachers, be sure that you love what you're teaching. Make sure you have a passion for continuous learning in that particular content. And again, I'm going to, say this again, love for all students. Caring about the whole child, understanding that it isn't just about the few hours you see them, but there is a whole nother aspect to the student, with home and all other things that may come with extracurriculars and things of that nature. More this year than ever, be flexible, be adaptable, understand things can change on a dime. I can't tell you how many times I've talked with teachers who'll tell me, now this is when they're in person, that they're in the most engaging lesson. Everybody is paying attention, everybody's doing awesome, and all of a sudden the fire drill goes off. And now they've got to bring them all back after that collectively and try to get them all back on that engaging lesson. Sometimes it doesn't happen, right? So just understanding that things like that are going to happen. To be successful, again, you have to always want to learn. You have to be part of your students' learning as a whole. And, you've got to love that subject. Another thing that I would say is you've got to maintain professionalism, in all that you do. Sometimes it's hard. There are kids in your room, and so sometimes our teachers may be not too many years older than the students that they're teaching, but you always have to remain professional and realize that you are held to a standard. You are working with people's their most precious assets, and you are in a fishbowl. There is nowhere to hide. All eyes are on you, whether you're at the grocery store or in Washington, D.C., or whether you're in New York City or in Cabo. It doesn't matter. Somebody's going to know you. Somebody's going to see you. So to be successful, always maintain professionalism. And of course, always remember that you have to have that passion for your students and for the content that you're teaching.
And this next question I really want to ask, you can go to either one of you. What would you say, because Seza, I know you have a background in teaching before you made the move to HR, and Brianna, this is your first year teaching. So it'll be interesting to see the difference in perspectives, or maybe the similarities in perspectives here for this question. But what is the most rewarding thing about being in education, or about teaching? What is the most rewarding thing you would say? And let's go ahead and start with Brianna.
Okay, yeah. So I would say the most rewarding thing is we get to have fun, and there's never a dull moment in the classroom. I would say I actually played Pictionary with my kids, and that small little game and activity actually brought them so much joy, especially since we're not face to face. They interacted more than ever. My 8th graders are sometimes tough, but it makes me feel nice that I get the opportunity to shape students' minds and provide them with knowledge and skills and the experience to be good humans and citizens in this world. So it's definitely awesome.
All right, Seza, what about you? What would you say would be the most rewarding thing about working in education? You're working in HR now, but you're still in education. You mentioned it, mentioned before the podcast, Henrico County is kind of like a little city. So what would you say is the most rewarding thing about working in education, maybe from a teacher standpoint and from the position you're in right now?
Absolutely. I would say that all of us in the world of education likely at some point were influenced by an educator. We've talked about that and how, an educator has very likely played a significant role in our life, in decisions that we've made. I myself get my energy from kids. Not only did I teach, but I also coached, and I would have the most fun when I was around students. They made me laugh. Sometimes they made me laugh, but I was mad at them at the same time. But, it's just one of those things where you just get energy from kids. And at the end of the day, all the hard work that you put in is going into and investing into a child. So, you know, while there are outstanding employers out there that are not part of the educational world, you know, perhaps industry related work where, you know, the product is maybe a service, or a product might be an item that many of us may need. But in education, we have this unique treasure, which is our product is the success of students. You know, and what we do here is we ensure the success of all of our students, all of our staff, and we are here to support them in whatever resources that they may need to achieve that. One of the things to keep in mind is our school division motto is the right to achieve and the support to succeed. So, you know, that in of itself is such a rewarding aspect to know that what we do every day, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in the HR department, whether it's in the CTE department working on technology, whatever we are doing is bettering the lives of children.
All right. We're running up against the clock here, guys. Oh, Mike, you wanted to say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want just there was a question I had written, and I'm altering a little bit because I think it sounds more appropriate. But Brianna, what was, you know, in the short time you've been teaching, what would you say was your biggest challenge, and how did you meet that challenge? I wrote overcome, but I don't know if that's really the appropriate word. I think how did you meet that challenge, you know, as a new teacher?
Okay. My biggest challenge so far, piggybacking off of my last statement, being virtual, sometimes participation is hard to get. And trying to get them to be excited as I am when I created the lessons on my Saturday morning could be a struggle. But I say having hands-on activities. I did a no-sew activity with my 7th and 8th graders, and just having them use their hands and pick up a pencil like we're back in school actually causes them to have excitement and bring them back to, you know, we're in school, I can still have fun, and she's making this engaging for us.
Yeah, that's got to be a challenge, especially dealing with everything you guys have going on. But hands-on activity, no matter which way you flip it, and really sometimes no matter what age, really does help students become more engaged. And this is a question, again, we're running up against the clock here. I don't want this episode to go on too long. This is one of those topics, Mike, where we could really talk like an hour or 2 hours about.
Yeah, exactly.
But we need to bring it to a close here. There's got to be an ending. I don't want to make this like a 2 hour long podcast. So this question is for both of you, Seza and Brianna, and we'll start with Seza. What can students do now to better prepare themselves for a career in teaching? Starting with Ms. Seza Aldrich over here.
Sure. So, you know, basically taking courses during their high school programs, you know, like Brianna did with the early childhood education program, perhaps going into a Teach for Tomorrow type of program, working, you know, the Teachers for Tomorrow students, they even get an opportunity to go into some of our elementary schools, and they do observations, they help hands-on with the students, K through 5. As well as, you know, really hone in on if you're a secondary type of person, meaning you just have a significant love for math, you know, start really thinking about how majoring in math could lead to a profession in teaching mathematics. Students preparing for the teaching profession, you know, you just have to ask yourself certain questions. Are you passionate enough about students? Are you passionate enough about content? And if you are, then what steps are you willing to take? Put yourself in different roles. One of the things that I say is during the summer, you know, lifeguard, babysit, work with Parks and Rec, get around students, and make sure you get around all types of students. You know, one of the most significant challenging things that we'll see when we're recruiting is that some of our candidates have only been in one type of setting. Henrico County Public Schools is very unique. We are urban, suburban, and rural, all under one division. And when we're recruiting teachers, we are looking for folks who can teach all students, any type of student. We are unique in that we can offer, you know, if someone has a preference of working in an urban or rural or suburban setting, but to make yourself more marketable, you want to give yourself the chance of getting in front of kids from all walks of life. So if you've gone through schooling in one type of setting, make sure that when you're getting some of these experiences during the weekends, if you're working, or during the summer, that you are giving yourself exposure to other types of settings. That is what's going to make you a marketable candidate. And that goes for not only the teaching profession, but all professions. Make sure you don't pigeonhole yourself into one area. Make sure you are marketable and are well-rounded as a candidate.
Yeah, versatility is certainly important, especially when we're talking about teaching. You're going to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, so you've got to be able to understand and adjust accordingly. All right, Brianna, so what is some advice you can give for students who may be aspiring teachers? What can they better do to prepare themselves for a career in this field?
Yeah, definitely paying attention during those classes. Everything comes back around in some fashion, form and fashion. So continue to push through any struggles or obstacles that you might have. I would say I'm 23, fresh out of college, and during those last 2 years, it was very tough. But no journey is easy, so you definitely have to keep fighting.
All right, awesome. All right, guys, going to bring the show to a close here. I want to say thank you so much, Ms. Aldrich, and thank you, Brianna, guys, for coming on the show here today. And again, another congratulations to Brianna on winning that First Year Teacher of the Year award over there at Pocahantas Middle School. So thank you guys so much for coming out while being on the show. Mike, I still haven't gotten used to stop saying coming out when we have virtual shows, right?
We've been 90% virtual and you still haven't figured it out.
I still haven't figured it out. I'm in work in progress. But thank you guys so much for participating in Henrico CTE Now, the podcast. All right, guys. I want to remind you guys to check us out on social media before I let the listeners go here. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all at the handle Henrico CTE. Also check out the website henricocte.com. Stay up to date on everything we got going. Mike, tell them where they can find the podcast.
You can find the podcast on all of your major and minor podcast venues.
All right. So subscribe, hit that notification bell, and notify you every time a new podcast drops. Keeps you up to date on everything we got going on inside of the wonderful world of CTE. All right, guys, that's it for us. For Mike Roberts, for Seza Aldrich, for Brianna Smith, I'm Rashawn Garnett. This has been Henrico CTE. Until next time, so long, everyone.